What are your best options for PC racing wheels? What should you be looking for? All this and more in our 2017 Sim Racing Paddock PC Wheel Buyer's Guide. So for the sub $200 price range, there aren't too many wheels that I would actively recommend on the new side. The only major wheel that would come to mind for me is the Thrustmaster TMX racing wheel. However, I would not actively recommend the pedal set that is available for that, and I would elect to spend that little extra money to go for the Thrustmaster T3 P8 bundled into the Thrustmaster TMX or T150 Pro configuration. And that will likely push you a little above 200, but if you are wanting that wheel, I would highly recommend that option. If you're willing to go pre-owned, Logitech has some great offerings such as the Driving Force GT, G25, and G27 racing wheels, and most, if not all of them, can be found in the sub $200 range, so those are some pretty solid options. It is worth mentioning that all of these options I've listed in the sub 200 price bracket are gear-driven wheels. Now, these are becoming a quickly obsolete technology in favor of either belt-driven or direct drive racing wheels, and some sims are not really actively supporting gear drive wheels. R-Factor 2 comes to mind, so if you're wanting to enjoy R-Factor 2 in its entirety, I would say it is not a good idea to go with a gear-driven wheel. Most wheels that are appealing to the consumer market are now within the $200 to $400 price bracket. Fanatec and Thrustmaster have really duked it out in this bracket with the Fanatec CSL Elite wheel as well as the Thrustmaster T300 RS and the Thrustmaster TX racing wheels. Now, Thrustmaster's offerings are very solid in what they are able to be done. You are able to find a Thrustmaster TX or T300 base with no wheel rim for around $250, and then you can add a rim for about $100 to $150, depending on which rim you're wanting. The Fanatec CSL Elite will be a little on the pricier side, with the CSL Elite wheel base at $299 and the CSL P1 racing rim at $89. That brings us just a hair under our $400 price budget for the low mid-range wheels. That wheel will also be a very solid contender, and it's compatible with Fanatec's Club Sport line of accessories, including the load cell based Club Sport pedals V3 and the CSL Elite pedals, as well as the Club Sport shifter. Another thing to consider regarding Fanatec wheels is the fact that you are able to have a live LED display on the wheel. With the Thrustmaster wheels, you don't get any display with the wheel. You are just going to have the wheel and then rely on the on-screen telemetry in the sim that you're racing on. However, with the Fanatec wheel, you usually get an up to 3-digit LED display as well as rev lights on some of the rims. So that might be another deciding factor in what you're looking for. So if you're looking for that full ecosystem and that ability to mount a real-life racing wheel onto your base, then you might want to look at Fanatec's offering. Thrustmaster is great for that all-in-one solution as well. However, the peripherals and accessories aren't as high build quality, and they, as of right now, don't have a first-party offering that offers a load cell-based pedal. However, in my opinion, I find the shifter, the TH8A shifter, a little better, in my opinion, than Fanatec's offerings. So those are things to take into consideration. One thing you'll notice is that I didn't include the Logitech G29 or G920 racing wheels in my recommendations. This is partly because of what I mentioned before, where modern racing PC titles aren't really built with gear drive force feedback in mind anymore. They're going to have more optimization for belt drive as well as direct drive. So with the gear drive, and especially with the price that the Logitech G29 and G920 are at, I honestly cannot give them my recommendation. The next bracket is the higher consumer end wheels between $400 and $900. And this is going to pit the Fanatic Club Sport wheelbase to the Thrustmaster TSPC Racer wheel. Now, the Thrustmaster offering is a PC exclusive, but it is incredibly strong. It is very fast, very precise, and it has a pretty cool formula-based rim included with it for $500. Fanatic's offering is going to be significantly pricier. They did recently have a price cut of the wheel base to $500, but that cost doesn't include a wheel rim with it. If you want a budget rim, you can get the CSL P1 rim for $89, as mentioned before, but if you are getting the Club Sport wheel, you're likely going to want to opt for one of the more expensive rims, so you need to factor that into the cost as well. I would say that the Universal Hub with a wheel rim is a pretty solid offering, and that's going to pit you at about $400 for that combination. So with that wheelbase and rim, you're going to be looking at close to $900 to $950 once that's all said and done. But the main thing that would set the Club Sport Wheel V2 above the Thrustmaster TSPC is, again, the accessories and peripherals. Those are at the higher standard and you are able to have the load cell. But on the flip side, with the PC, you're also able to have your mix and matched accessories. So you could have a Thrustmaster wheel with Fanatic pedals. The question is, what do you prefer? And I think that'll largely come down to wheel rim accessories and choices. With Thrustmaster, you're going to have a lot of Ferrari licensed wheels, and then you can also have a modded setup where you could have your own wheel rim on. However, that is also going to bring it to a similar price as the Fanatic's offering. With Fanatic, with the wheel hub, you're able to actually have your own wheel mounted on it with buttons, with shifters. So it ultimately is going to come down to what solution are you looking for. Now, I haven't received the Thrustmaster TSPC Racer wheel to review yet. I have heard that the TSPC Racer is similar to the Thrustmaster T500 RS, but with the smoothness of the T300 and TX. So I would say with that combination, it would be a great wheel. And I'd say for that price range, you do have a very solid offering. But I have spent a few months with the Fanatic CSW V2 to review, and I gotta say, I really do enjoy that wheel, and it is a very solid offering. Now, here are the big guns. So with the $900+ bracket, we are quickly entering the area of direct drive racing wheels. So there are the big three players right now, which are Leo Bodnar with their Sim steering system. We have Sim Experience with their AccuForce racing wheel. And then we have the Open Sim wheel, which is the custom built racing wheel using an industrial grade motor. At the $900 range, you have the option of the Sim Experience AccuForce DIY package, as well as some of the entry-level Open Sim wheels. So looking at those, the big element of that is you are going to need some sort of technical know-how to put everything together. It will be similar to building your own PC, and a lot of it is common sense, but if you do feel uncomfortable about doing that, you might want to look at the next step up. In addition, the Open Sim wheel and the AccuForce DIY do not include any wheels, and you will have to supply your own, as well as figure out a DIY solution for buttons and shifters. So that will essentially require some knowledge of possibly soldering and things of that nature. If you're uncomfortable with the DIY setup and everything, you are likely going to go to the next step up, which is the Sim Experience AccuForce Pro racing wheel. And that is Sim Experience's turnkey solution, which is around $1,800. Looking at that, you get your own racing wheel, you get your buttons, you get your shifters, And you get this solution that you can basically mount on your rig, plug in the cords, plug into your computer, and get going. Now, this significantly undercut some of the competitors' pricing, and that's because they have utilized their own custom motor. They call it a hybrid stepper servo. A stepper motor is slightly different than a servo motor, where you can feel some tiny steps as you're turning the wheel, but it is a great wheel. And usually when you are driving with that wheel, you're not going to feel those issues. You're not going to feel the steps. You're going to feel like you're driving with a high grade servo. It is also worth mentioning that there are some other wheels around the $2,000 price mark, including offerings from EC Sim Hardware as well as Frex. Now, for those of you who don't know who Frex is, they are this Japanese sim racing manufacturer brand, and before the age of direct drive, they were known as some of the highest end wheels with a custom force feedback system. However, they've dropped off the map for a few years, and then I decided to check in on them, and they said that they do have their own direct drive offering under $2,000. I have heard some word that I might be getting one of the new Frex wheels to review, but I am still waiting on a response from them. Hopefully that will be sooner rather than later. However, the common rule of thumb is if you're looking for the ultimate driving experience, you're going to want the Sim Steering. The Sim Steering 2 unit by Leo Bodnar is one of the strongest, most accurate, most precise wheels on the market, and in a lot of blind tests per se, they have outperformed Sim Experience and Open Sim wheels. So you really do get what you pay for, but you are going to be paying quite a bit. You would be hovering around the $3,000 to $4,000 depending on what configuration you run. And with the base unit, you're not even getting a wheel rim. You are likely going to have to buy your own rim and mount it on yourself, or get one of the offerings offered by Sim Steering, and those are at least $1,000 also. But those are sure beautiful rims, and you will likely want those, but if you don't have money to burn, you're not really going to have that option. Also, as a footnote, one thing to mention with all the direct drive racing wheels is, as of right now, they are all PC exclusive. So you're not going to have the option to use a Sim Steering or an AccuForce on a PlayStation 4 or an Xbox. With Fanatec's new announcement that there is going to be a direct drive wheel from the German company, as well as rumors that Thrustmaster is working on their own solution, that might change. We might see them working on software that is compatible with consoles, but right now they're all PC exclusive. If you're new to the sim racing world in general and you're just looking for a decent wheel to gain your entry point, I would highly recommend looking at a pre-owned Logitech Driving Force GT or a pre-owned Logitech G27 as your first wheel, and you can commonly find those for under $200, and they would be a great wheel to get your feet wet in this sim racing world. If you're willing to make a little more of an investment, I would say that the Thrustmaster T300 or TX series are great entry mid-level racing wheels that you can use to get that better experience in the modern PC racing titles, because those are the belt drive steering force feedback systems as opposed to the gear-driven force feedback. If you are looking for the option to mount your own wheel or have higher quality rims, the Fanatec CSL Elite wheelbase is a very solid option for the racer that is looking for a slight step up and that higher quality feel through your hands. If you're looking to take that significant step up from a Logitech or a lower mid-range wheel and you're wanting to make a more significant investment, the Thrustmaster TSPC Racer or the Fanatec Club Sport Wheel V2 bases are very solid offerings. For myself, I prefer the build quality of the CSW V2 and also the different rims that are available. However, that does come at an additional cost. if you are looking for a better all-in-one solution for a lower price, I would say go with the Thrustmaster, and you can also have a few different rims. If you are a Ferrari nut, if you're a big fan of Ferrari, I would say Thrustmaster is a great one as well because of the different wheels that are available. So that is another factor. If you really like Ferrari, go for the Ferrari rim. If you're possibly more of a fan of Porsche, you might try the Club Sport wheel with the Porsche 918 rim. If you have money to burn or just want to go all out on this hobby, then the direct drive wheel is the way to go. You are going to really want to either look and see if you're willing to tinker with your own hardware or if you're wanting a more premium all-in-one solution. If you're willing to tinker with your hardware, the Open Sim wheel is a great way to go. It is the most cost-effective, ranging around the price of a Fanatec Club Sport wheel V2 with a couple of rims, and you are going to have a significant upgrade in the fidelity and the precision of the wheel. If you're wanting to have that turnkey solution, if you're wanting to have that solution where you're able to just plug it in and drive, then you might want to look at Sim Experience, or if you really have money to burn, go for the Sim Steering. So these are my recommendations for the PC Sim Racer. What are yours? Let us know in the comments. Also, stay tuned for part 2 where we will be discussing wheels on the Xbox One, and part 3 where we will be discussing wheels on the PlayStation 4. For Sim Racing Paddock, I'm William Marsh, and you have a great rest of your day.